Kazakhs hold numerous celebrations on various occasions that are connected with essential events in their life. However, the most significant and festive event in people's life is the wedding, in other words, the marriage of two young people. Hello, you're watching the program Kazakh Live Dastur with Tamara Asar. Today we will participate in such an event and see the Betashar ceremony, revealing the face of the bride. So let's begin. Our guest today is the representative of the Academy of the Kazakh National Traditions, the academician and ethnographer Bolat Bopaevich. I welcome you in our studio. Hello. The theme we're discussing today is the wedding celebration. What is the significance of this event among the Kazakh people? Please tell us about it. Well, Tamara, according to the Kazakh traditions, it's believed that after two young people marry, family ties between their relatives on both sides will last for 1,000 years. This folk saying is passed down from generation to generation. They say at the wedding celebration, marriage is established for a century and becoming co-parents-in-law for 1,000 years. This can be related as one of the most important stages of national culture. What about the observance of customs? Customs were definitely followed. First, messengers were sent, then co-parents-in-law left for the bride's village. They get acquainted with the bride's family and her life. Then they presented the first gift to the house of the future bride. After this, the groom could visit his beloved woman in the village she lived in for short dates, to know her closer and have talks. And only after this, they could already talk about marriage and ask her parents to give their daughter in marriage. Did they present earrings? They presented earrings and a bunch of owl feathers to be attached to the bride's headdress. After that, relatives from the groom's side were leaving to take the bride with them. All these stages had to be held before the wedding celebration. It should be noted that in the old days, a 15-year-old boy was already considered to be the host of the house, and a girl from the age of 13 was considered to be the keeper of the hearth, and in general, they could already form their own family. Upon reaching adulthood. Yes, in the past, young people were given immediately in marriage upon reaching adulthood. Over time, the way of life changed, and under the influence of various factors, traditions also underwent changes. Is it connected with establishment of schools and employment? Yes, it is, and for various reasons. Over time, the social environment has changed. At the same time, marriage age has also increased. People get married at the age of 18, 25, and 30. As for the wedding, it's a celebration and a happy time for two young people. This is also a festive event for close relatives and the whole family. It symbolizes the rapprochement of many people. Kazakhs say to become co-parents-in-law means to connect family ties for 1,000 years. This is very symbolic. Comparing with other nations, what does the Kazakh wedding differ for? Here it must be emphasized what the wedding is especially different for. There are such rituals as collecting festive gifts in a special bag for presenting to the co-parents-in-law, the dates between young people for conversations, horse competitions, and much more. For example, there is a Betashar ceremony revealing the bride's face. This is the first acquaintance with her new family and the first lesson in family life. All this complex of folk customs and rites was formed over the centuries and is exclusively inherent only to the Kazakh people. It can be determined even as a national characteristic. The first lesson. Yes, exactly, the first test. The bride is not yet familiar with future relatives. Yes, she's probably shy and uncomfortable. Yes, a young bride needs to overcome shyness, show respect, and greet everyone. She must greet all the new relatives in turn, first her mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and in general, all the relatives of the husband. Ancestors should be mentioned. The reverence and mentioning of ancestors, praising virtues, and the preservation of family values and traditions are very important during the wedding celebration. This is very symbolic, especially on the first day the bride arrives at the groom's house. Everything should look impressive. Having done all this, the bride will quickly get used to her new environment. By the way, the rite of holding the betashar ceremony most clearly shows the peculiarity of the Kazakh traditions in contrast to other nationalities. Betashar is inherent only to Kazakhs. Yes, actually it is so. The newly arrived bride doesn't immediately enter the groom's house. Initially, she welcomed in the house of the groom's older brother. Yes, you're right. First, a wedding ceremony is held in the bride's house. Surely in the house of the bride's parents. Indeed, according to the rules established from ancient times, the bride cannot cross the threshold of her future home until the betashar ceremony is held. Prior to this, she has to spend time in the house of the groom's brother or relatives living in this village. After betashar ceremony ends, she already has the right to fully enter and live in the groom's house. In general, all Kazakh customs and rituals are performed in two main types of events: joyful, solemn, and mourning. Yes, you're right. Kazakhs also have a custom to make a preliminary gift in the form of cattle. It's called öletiri. This includes sheep, horses, camels, and cattle. The animals selected for the gift are marked with red ribbons. And cattle intended to be presented to the bride's house is marked with white ribbons. All this is being prepared in the groom's house. When a öletiri event is held, it's considered that a tribute to the dead ancestors is paid. This is very important in compliance with the ritual practices of our people. Yes, I agree with you. It's done for their certain purposes. It also represents respect for parents. During öletiri ceremony, people pay tribute to their deceased ancestors and wish happiness and benevolent words to all relatives. Presenting gifts in the form of cattle nomadic traditions means our unity in joy and sorrow. Sure. At the same time, it was stressed that people become closer. They are glad to see each other's success and express condolences on the sad events. As noted earlier, cattle to be presented were marked with red and white ribbons. However, the bride group did not have the right to try treats prepared for the meat of these animals, intended for öletiri ritual. They were not supposed to eat this meat. There was a ban. It was banned. They could only taste dishes from the festive table. This was due to the fact that they were just stepping into their new life and welcomed their new happiness. There was a sign that the path of well-being and happiness should have been continued in subsequent generations. As you can see, the Kazakh ritual practice, the system of popular beliefs, represents a whole science. Thank you for the interesting conversation. For information from reliable scientific sources, we're looking forward to see you as the guest of our studio more often. Thank you. Let there be more happy weddings in our country, and may a festive event come in your family. Thank you. May your wishes come true. And we continue our program in Svadьба.kz Wedding Salon. Our next guest today is a public figure, honored work of Kazakhstan and Akın Mukhamedzhan Tazabek. I welcome you to our studio. Thank you. How are you? Is everything all right? Thanks, everything is fine. And thanks for the invitation.
Бүгін уақыт бөліп жатқандарыңызға.
Thank you for participating in the Kazakh Live Dastur program. As you can see, our aim here is to inform and popularize Kazakh national traditions. As you know, marriage between two people is possible if they don't have common ancestors to the 7th generation. There is also a tradition of renewing family relations with the old co-parents-in-law by another marriage. What can you say about this? In the Kazakh society, there are many ways to establish and maintain close and warm relationships between people. One of them is the ceremony of becoming co-parents-in-law, followed by marriage, renewal of kinship relations, and so on. Keeping observance of kinship relationships up to the 7th generation has a scientific justification, as well as approved by the faith. This practice ensures the purity of the Kazakh blood and genetic purity.
Ол қазақтың қанының тазалығы.
In addition, people living at significant distances between each other become closer. Under such circumstances, namely when living in a distance, the absence of constant contacts, the concepts of people, their customs and rituals undergo changes. After people become relatives, all this comes to a common idea. Different families become relatives and pass down their traditions, rituals to next generations. In general, becoming co-parents-in-law and the establishment of family ties through marriage can be regarded as one of the types of diplomacy which allowed in due time to resolve arising disputes and to resolve conflict situations between Kazakh clans. Therefore, uniting family ties between people who reside in such geographically distant regions as Atyrau and Altai, the north and south of Kazakhstan, ensured the unity and uniformity of the Kazakh language. Should ceremony be performed in the village of the bride's father? I want to emphasize that the ceremony of marriage, nikah kiyu, is not one of the elements of a wedding celebrations, but an act of concluding a sincere union between the bride and the groom. Many of us think that this is only connected with the wedding. In general, this rite is carried out before the wedding. There are many ceremonies that are held before the wedding, such as becoming co-parents-in-law, the arrival of the groom, dating of young people, and so on. However, first of all, right after the acquaintance of the young people, an agreement about marriage, nikah kiyu should be held.
Жоқтан барып жаратқан Құдайдың алдындағы екі пенденің рухани тазалығының бір кепілі белгісі, есебі.
After this rite, it was already possible to take the bride from her village and hold Betashar ceremony.
Аманат қып саған бердім деген ең үлкен басты шарты ол әкенің ақ батасы. Сондықтан некеге
Nikah is a vow of the newlyweds before the Almighty. One of the conditions of nikah kiyu is the father's consent and the blessing of marriage.
Некемен алғаннан кейін екі жастың рухы байланады, және үлкендердің батасын алғаннан кейін қыз да өзі психологиялық тұрғыдан үлкен жауапкершілік сезінеді. Және
Therefore, the Kazakhs attach great importance to the ceremony of nikah kiyu.
кезде күйеу бала да қызға басқа көзқараспен қарайды. Некесі қиылмаған кезде жігіт қызға оның ойында мүмкін айнып қалуы мүмкін.
It provided the legal basis for marriage, contributed to the confidence of the young bride, imposed special responsibility on the groom.
Кезде жігітте қызға ол енді менікі, енді оған мен жауап бермін деген үлкен бір аманат жүктеледі.
Nikah that was held in time was the key to a long and happy family life.
Некенің уақытында дәл қиылуы ол екі жастың арасының жымдасып жақсы болуына тікелей себеп болатын дейді.
Can you briefly tell about the conditions of nikah kiyu ceremony? Yes, according to Sharia law, the first condition is that the newlyweds must be Muslims by religion. They will be asked to repeat the solemn dictum obligatory for the Muslim, kalima. Yes, they will be asked if the young people are irreligious or one of them is of another faith. If the newlyweds are practicing Muslim religion, that is, they read namaz when this is not required. For example, the bride of our fighter, Haji Mukan, and the bride of the politician Mustafa Shokai, before nikah kiyu rite, read kalima and were converted to Islam. Therefore, the first condition here is the faith. The second mandatory condition is paternal consent and blessing of marriage. The decision to marry publicly pronounced by the groom is also important. Who will give paternal consent and blessing for marriage to a young bride who lost her father? In this case, brothers or relatives from the mother's side can bless the bride. If there are none, then a blessing on marriage can be given by the clergyman of the locality, the imam of the village. Then the groom announces his readiness to bear responsibility in family life. He must say clearly and definitely, "I will marry her." After that, witnesses should say their word. How many witnesses should there be? If there are men, then 2 witnesses are enough. If women, there are maybe more witnesses. 2 women can replace 1 man. During the ceremony, property is specified that the groom must present to the bride as a wedding gift. By this step, the groom demonstrates the determination of his intentions. After that, the prayer is read and the ceremony of marriage ends. Why do they drink water? It's not necessary to drink water from one dish. I have already mentioned above the mandatory terms. The joint drinking of water or another drink by the newlyweds is a tradition that has already appeared later, adopted from various Muslim people in accordance with their national characteristics. Somewhere instead of water, newlyweds drink sweetened milk, eat sweets, and so on. At present, when people hold celebrations, they want the events to be interesting and spectacular. With this aim, they hold different entertainments.
Ол арқан керу, ол шашу, ол жаңағы құдаларға құйрық бауыр тарату, оған.
Having gone through all the historical stages, these elements have survived and held today at Kazakh celebrations.
Оның пайдасы екшеленіп, бүгінге дейін өлмей жеткен дәстүр. Арқан керген кезде не пайдасы?
For example, arkan tartu, rope pulling, sports contests, shashu, treating co-parents-in-law with a traditional dish made from liver, gifting with money in response to this.
Кезде бірдеңесін өткізген адамда не болады? Еркіндік пайда болады. Бұл шоу бір жағынан, екінші ол жерде шашу.
All this adds festivity to the wedding. They also contribute to the relaxed manner of the atmosphere and help guests and hosts to establish spiritual contact with each other for easy communication and fun.
Онда кәмпитін біріне бірі беріп, өзімсінет, яғни ресмилік сипат кетеді.
Currently, many of our compatriots have the opportunity to hold major events, large celebrations.
Соның арқасында талайдың мұртына май жағылып
Yes, presently people hold a lot of celebrations. This is firstly due to people's well-being and peace in the country. Secondly, the Kazakh held celebrations in spite of everything. The reasons for this are as follows. This was done to mark the successful completion of a serious business and in order to see relatives after a long period of time. It looks like they give account to people. Yes, it seems so. The celebrations demonstrate the social status, financial opportunities, and spiritual viability of any kind of tribe. But it seems that at the present time in our country, more attention is paid to the external, only entertaining form of celebrations, rather than to their internal aesthetic content. Parents of young people are more concerned about the design of their home and its decoration. After all, they will show it to the co-parents-in-law and relatives. But it would be better if they pay attention to the preparation of celebrations without high costs and excessiveness, with maximum aesthetic and spiritual educational content. It's very important.
Тәуліктің қай мезгілінде өтуінің өзі де үлкен дүние.
In my region, it's customary to hold the bride's bedashar ritual before sunset. What can you say about it? It's a good sign. It originates from folk tradition and practice. In general, religion does not interfere with good omens and customs. Previously, all the celebrations featuring horse racing, the wrestling of athletes, and were carried out in the daytime. This made it possible for both the adults and children to visit and see all the entertainments.
Біріншіден енді күндізгі уақытта
And in the evening, it was possible to continue communication on interesting topics in one of the houses. People really like this order of celebrations.
алқа отан отырып жалғаса беретін болған.
Thank you. Thank you too. Come to our studio more often. Thank you for providing the interesting information for our audience. I wish you success. People of different nationalities hold wedding celebrations in their own and different ways. The main difference of the Kazakh wedding is that Betashar ceremony is held within celebration. This is our great tradition.
Бұл беташар деген үлкен салт дәстүріміз. Бүгін студиямыз
Today, the guest of our studio is a follower of folk customs, a young speaker,
жас та болса бас болып біраз келді.
was repeatedly performed the Betashar rite, a student of the traditional song art department of the Kazakh National Academy of Arts, named after Timirbek Jurgenov. Ulas Kazyken. Welcome.
Kazyken Ulasbek келіп отыр. Қош келдің.
Thank you. You have been conducting the ceremony for quite a long time. Tell me, who taught you?
Қаншама келіннің бетін аштың. Кім үйретті саған? Ұстаздарың кім? Сол жайында айтып кетсін.
I studied and received education from such famous mentors as Ramazan Stamgaziyev, Talgat Abugazi, Nurjan Janpiisov.
Сынды біздің ұлағат ұстаздарымыздың тәлім тәрбие алып,
I learned melodies and songs from them.
рәсімдерін үйреніп, сол кісілердің жаңағы
In such a way, I show my art in the industry of the Betashar folk rite.
халық арасында беташар рәсімі жасап жүрген жайымыз бар.
How many times has it been? According to average estimates, I held more than 200 celebrations. How many years have you been practicing this rite? For nearly 5 years. Today, a young bride came in our studio and she's waiting for her Betashar ceremony. Please show your art to the audience. Let's see what it is, a real Betashar.
Қандай болатынын көрсетсін.
Fine.
Келді. Ассалаумағалайкум, қалқым елім, мықты болсын берекең, алтын келін. Дәстүрін қазағымның бежірлайық, Betashar деген ежелгі оу салтын сенің. Барша жері қазақтың аңызыменен апталған, небір асыл ғажаптың саңғыры бар сақталған. Айналайын жан келін, бал бұраған бал келін, ел жереген еліңнің әруағына мың сәлем. Ауылдың асыл қарты бар, ауылдың асыл қарты бар, Алатаудайын мәрті бар, үлкенді сыйлау құрметтеу, бабадан қалған салтын бар. Айналайын келінжан, қоғадай жапырып берген әулет үлкендеріне, тоғада еліп мың сәлем. Ай мақсат балам келді деп, балапаным үйіме, екеу болып енді деп, отыр атаң қуанып, жас баласа мейірлеп. Айналайын келінжан, ерекше қылып сәлем сал, қайнатаңай кемеңгел. Ертеңгі жан сыйласың, ертеңгі жан сыйласың, кетсен нағыз қимасың, жақсылыққа үйретер, жамандықтан жирентер, болар ұлы мектебің. Айналайын келінжан, алтын құрсаған аңа, иеліп тұрып мың сәлем, енесіне мың сәлем.
Бәрекелді, құтты болсын.
Ай анау тұрған қайнаған, анауда тұрған қайнаған, ор қояндайын ойнаған, келін жаным келді деп, алтыннан қазық қақтырып, 90 нарды байлаған. Келгел келе ғой, еліп сәлем бере ғой, келіп отқан осында қайнағаларың ай мың сәлем. Ай төгілтейін термені, бош жіберіп келгені, айналайын келінжан, атарылтып алыстан, жорғалатып жақыннан, келген мынау қауымға, ағайын менен ауылға, ерекше қылып сәлем сал, разы болсын қауымдай.
Ал жігітімізге көп рахмет.
Wonderful. Thanks to our talented Akın. May the festive events last as long as possible. May the newlyweds be happy.
Өмірлері мәнді де сәнді болсын.
This was program Kazakh Live Dastur. See you soon.
Тамара асармен жақсылықпен жолыққанша.